Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to be doing a wear test for the new Estee Lauder Double Wear Light Soft Matte Hydra Makeup. This is the newest addition to their classic Double Wear line and the original Double Wear Stay in Place makeup, which has been around since 1997. So my first question when I was debating how I was going to film this video was really how to cover what the difference is. And at first I had considered doing one on either side of my face to show you how they wear differently. But I have been wearing this one over the course of the past week, and they both wear very well in classic Estee Lauder form. And what I really just want to show you is how this one performs. So I'm not going to do the side by side, but what I do want to tell you is the difference really is just that this one has a much more matte finish. This one's not quite a radiant finish or even a dewy finish. It just has a very natural skin-like moist look, I guess. I actually hate the word moist. I am one of those people, but it doesn't give you that sort of airbrushed matte finish. This one doesn't. That, I think, is the look that this one aims to achieve. So we're going to use this one today to do our wear test. I've just got my Clinique Pep Start on my face as my primer. I'm going to go in first and conceal a little bit of this action. I'm just going to be using my Diorskin Forever Undercover concealer to do that part. Not intended to be part of the video, but when I do a wear test, I just like you guys to see everything that I'm putting on my face when I do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I've also been using a little bit of a different concealing technique. I am somebody who has a lot of like the dark pigment shadows kind of here at the downturned corner of my eye. And if I don't conceal it really well, what ends up happening is when I apply eyeshadow, it looks like I have fallout. And it makes my eyes look like they're drooping down into the corner. And for the longest time, I thought that it was just me putting my finger there to pull and do my eyeliner, and I always thought that it was just me mucking up my foundation in that area. But I have recently learned that that's not actually the case, and you can really help to correct that problem. One, by not putting your finger in your makeup. You can hold it with a beauty blender or something like that instead, but also bringing your concealer to the outside of the eye. When you have downturned sort of hooded eyes like that, like you can definitely see it gives it a much more lifted, less tired look. So that's just the concealer, and again, not at all part of the wear test. I'm gonna go in with the foundation now. For those of you who are new here, I have oily skin. My color in the Estee Lauder is 1N2. Yes, it's called Ecru, I know that, but it was color 1N2. So I'm just gonna go in like this. I'm gonna start with a little bit of a stipple to just kind of pack it onto the skin. This is how I've been wearing it. And I've also been noting that applying it this way, as opposed to the way you've seen me apply it before directly onto the face, I use a lot less product, which obviously is good for my bank account. So I'm gonna go around, and this is just literally called a stippling brush. I think this is from Precision Beauty or Real Techniques, one of those two. You can get it at Ulta. So there I've got pretty much one half of my entire face done with just one little squeeze of product here. And so now I'm gonna go in and do the other side and just put a little bit of extra back over wherever I think I need a little more coverage. Usually on my chin. There's a spot on my cheek here where you can really see my natural pigments and my veins show through a little bit. So those are places I tend to go back and add a little bit more coverage. But after I get the stippling done, I'm going to go just over all of it with a beauty blender and absorb any extra product that might be sitting on the skin. So all of that is just from 2 pumps of product. And as I said, I'm just going to use a tiny little bit, not even a full pump, just a very little bit on the back of the hand there to go over a couple of the spots where I feel like I could use a little bit more coverage. And the reason, just while we're talking, because I hate having to like cut and splice my videos all over the place, I really like for you to be able to see what I'm doing. The reason that I've returned to this stippling method, one is because Wayne Goss recommends it, and I trust everything that that man says. But 2, because I feel like no matter how clean my brush was, if I was going like this in a circular motion, it left the beauty blender a much bigger job, right? Because I had to clean up the extra product that I was just pushing around. It had to cover the streaks. Whereas this, it's already kind of making sure the product is packed really well where it needs to be. Of course, I do just rub back and forth a bit once I get up to the hairline, back by the ears and whatnot. But anyway, on the main parts of my face, it keeps the product from sitting there so that when I go in with the Beauty Blender, there's really very little for it to do. And if there's any extra product that's hanging out there, it'll get picked up, but otherwise we're pretty much good to go with our coverage. So that's just the foundation on, and obviously the concealer under the eyes. As you can see, it's typical Estee Lauder medium to full coverage. I could continue building this up if I wanted a nice heavier layer, if I was doing like a formal evening out or something like that. You can still see how very natural my skin looks here. You can still see a little bit of my pigment showing through there and there as well, but that's because I have that touch of rosacea on my cheeks, and I don't work super hard to conceal it. But that is about what I expect of Estee Lauder. It's very similar to the coverage that you get with their standard Double Wear Stay in Place if you've used that or are familiar with that. So for the rest of the wear test here, I am going to go ahead and set this. I have recently picked up, as part of Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty, the Clinique Blended Face Powder. What's weird is I specifically got this in the shade 20, the Invisible Blend. I don't know if I think it's truly translucent. That's what I was wanting to try, because I've been using my, my Maybelline Fit Me powder, and I was tired of the fact that that had a little bit of a tint to it. I wanted something that was completely translucent. So, but I guess looking at that, it doesn't really add any tint to it. I don't know. If you notice a tint, let me know in the comments. I've been playing with this one for just a couple of days, and I have to tell you, I'm still not sure either way whether or not it adds a tint. But, and again, going back with the Beauty Blender into the powder, and I'm not really loading it on. It looks like it is because this is a black Beauty Blender, but it's really not very much. And I try to only go back into the powder 2 or 3 times really to get my entire face, like once every bit of powder on this Beauty Blender is pushed into my face. Really like to make sure this is the area here where you're prone to getting the cake face, where you're prone to leaving the extra product, where you're prone to not setting it as well as you set the rest of your face. So I like to make sure that I set that very well and use the Beauty Blender a lot in those areas. So that is our full set. There's going to be a cat's tail here in like a second, I think. He's just joined me. So it is now, can you see that there? It is now, there it goes, 9 o'clock in the morning. So my goal here is, I think these claim to be 12-hour wear. Let me see if the box tells me anything more specific. I think Estee Lauder definitely claims to be 12 to 15-hour wear. This is 24-hour wear. Well, I'm not going to be doing a 24-hour wear test, but given that it's 9 o'clock in the morning, I think we can easily accomplish 12 hours of check-ins. So I'm going to try to make that happen every 3 hours or so. Should be back around noon showing you what we've got. I might put on a touch more makeup, maybe my eyebrows, so you'll see that when I log back in shortly. Hi you guys, so we are just coming up on the 3-hour mark. I did not get around to putting any more makeup on as I had anticipated, but I guess it's kind of a good thing because now you can really see what we're dealing with here. So 3 hours in, it looks exactly the way that it did when I applied it. It's not settling into any of my lines around my eyes, in my forehead, around my mouth, nothing. It feels very flexible, very good. I feel like some foundations that advertise themselves as mattifying can have a drying effect. They almost overcompensate the way that they counter the oil production of your skin, so it ends up feeling very dry. I am not getting that at all with this one. Also, I don't feel at all like my oiliness is accumulating anywhere. You know, if you've watched my wear tests before, I tell you that I reach a point in the day where I feel like I could just touch my finger to my skin and wipe the makeup away from where the oil has accumulated. And today, I don't even feel the need to blot. So we are 3 hours in, and this is going extraordinarily well. So I will pop back on in a couple of hours, maybe with more makeup, maybe not. Today is kind of all up in the air and I'm just running around. So we will see how I'm looking in 3 hours. Okay guys, so it's 3:15. It's been another 3 hours. So we're going on about 6 hours here and everything still looks just airbrush smooth. I'm so impressed with this right now, although I will tell you, like I said, the Clinique setting powder is relatively new to me. When I first got this Estee Lauder Hydro Matte Foundation, I didn't have the Clinique setting powder, and I did not notice it staying this matte for this long. So I'm thinking that the powder, for one, has had an effect on its longevity. Secondly, the new application method that I told you I've been going back to, really stippling the foundation on and making sure that there's no extra product on the face. Generally speaking, especially on a hot day like today, by about 6 hours, I'm starting to have that sort of like wipeable feeling. The makeup is starting to shift around, especially on my chin and in my T-zone. I just realized I didn't turn the ring light on for you, so hang on. There we go, that's probably better. You'll get a much better idea of what I'm saying now. But like I said, I do have oily skin, so usually by about 6 hours or mid-afternoon on a typical day, in my T-zone and over those rosacea spots on my cheeks, I tend to notice that the foundation is moving around, kind of starting to wipe off a little bit. I usually feel the urge to do some blotting and maybe repowder at this point. And today I'm not experiencing any of that. So we are on hour 6. And so far I have nothing but good things to say. So like I said, trying to check in about every 3 hours or so. We're about halfway through this wear test. I'm going to do my best to check in around 6 o'clock. I have some things going on this evening, so it might be a little bit earlier than that, and then the final check-in might be a little bit later than 9 o'clock, but roughly more or less 12 hours for the whole thing. So this is where we're at. Still no additional makeup, obviously, didn't get around to that, but holding strong. Hi you guys, so funny story, I actually just came in and did my whole final check-in and then realized that I wasn't recording, so I'm going to try to go through everything that I just said again. So we are clearly at the 12-hour mark, a little bit beyond the 12-hour mark, and I'm just now finally starting to see a little bit of shininess on the tip of my nose and here on my forehead, so obviously in my T-zone where I'm going to be most likely to get oily, but my cheeks and even the chin really are still looking nice and matte. So at this point, I'm honestly not sure which to recommend more or together or what have you, but the Clinique blended face powder and the Estee Lauder, this combination has been working beautifully for my oily skin. And like I said, I was using this foundation a little bit before doing this wear test. I was just using it with my Maybelline Fit Me pressed powder as my setting powder, and unfortunately, I wasn't really looking at it super closely and examining it in the level of detail that I do for these wear tests, but I can tell you that even on the days that I was wearing that, I very much enjoyed this foundation. So whatever setting powder you're using, I just wanted to let you guys know this is what I was using. Also, if your skin is not as oily as mine is, then you might not need a super heavy-duty setting powder to get the same results. But 12 hours in, the coverage is still nice and even. I'm still looking very matte, but not dried out. I'm still not settling into any lines, creases, anywhere around my eyes, forehead, lip area. And even if I was continuing my evening, I'm not, but even if I was, if I had gone out to dinner at the 6 o'clock hour and needed this to carry me through the rest of the evening, I think it's still wearing beautifully. It's not coming off around my cheeks or any of those areas where you feel like you don't want to be losing coverage because of your pigmentation. And I still don't have that feeling like I could stick my finger in it and wipe the oil off of my face. And as you saw, I only did the oil blotting sheet once at my last check-in. So clearly I can tell you that I give this one a double thumbs up, huge double thumbs up. Estee Lauder continues to knock it out of the park with this new addition to their Double Wear foundation line. And I will also say, kind of quite accidentally, that turned out to be sort of a performance test for this Clinique powder as well. And you guys know I love my Clinique for the most part. There are very few products from them that I have given a thumbs down. This is definitely another massive winner for me and my oily skin. So make sure you're using your product wisely, applying it wisely so you don't have a lot of excess on your face. And I think that's where I'm going to leave off on this wear test. So thank you so much for watching. Give it the thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Good night.